Book of Job, chapter 14. For a mortal born of a woman is short-lived and full of wrath. Or he falls like a flower that has bloomed, and he departs like a shadow, and cannot continue. Hast thou not taken account even of him, and caused him to enter into judgment before thee? For who shall be pure from uncleanness? Not even one. If even his life should be but one day upon the earth, and his months are numbered by him, thou hast appointed him for a time, and he shall by no means exceed it. Depart from him, that he may be quiet, and take pleasure in his life, though as a hireling. For there is hope for a tree, even if it should be cut down, that it shall blossom again, and its branch shall not fail. For though its root should grow old in the earth, and its stem die in the rock, it will blossom from the scent of water, and will produce a crop, as one newly planted. But a man that has died is utterly gone, and when a mortal has fallen, he is no more. For the sea wastes in length of time, and the river fails and is dried up. And a man that has lain down in death shall certainly not rise again, till the heaven be dissolved, and they shall not awake from the sleep. For oh, that thou hadst kept me in the grave, and hadst hidden me until thy wrath should cease, and thou shouldest set me a time in which thou wouldest remember me. For if a man should die, shall he live again, having accomplished the days of his life? I will wait till I exist again. Then shalt thou call, and I will hearken to thee. But do not thou reject the work of thine hands. But thou hast numbered my devices, and not one of my sins shall escape thee. And thou hast sealed up my transgressions in a bag, and marked if I have been guilty of any transgression unawares. And verily, a mountain falling will utterly be destroyed, and a rock shall be worn out of its place. The waters wear the stones, and waters falling headlong overflow a heap of the earth, and thou destroyest the hope of man. Thou drivest him to an end, and he is gone. Thou settest thy faith against him. Thou settest thy face against him, and sendest him away. And though his children be multiplied, he knows it not, and if they be few, he is not aware. But his flesh is in pain, and his soul mourns. Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum. Welcome to Job chapter 14, in which there are 22 verses. Beginning in verse 3, we read here, "And dost thou open thine eyes upon such an one?" Okay, no, we're ignoring that. My fault. Verse 4, significant difference of verse 1. For who shall be pure from uncleanness? Versus who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? In other words, who can live a pure, holy life, perhaps holy, but a pure life, versus who can pull off a miracle, bringing something clean out of what is unclean. Verse 5, if even his life should be but one day upon the earth, versus seeing his days are determined, so we see here Job is making, I wouldn't say it's an exaggeration, but he's making a sort of a philosophical statement that yes, there are literally babies who live only one day on the earth compared to other human beings who live many days, and those days are determined. In any case, they are determined, but one is saying that the life of one human being could be one day or a lot longer. Verse 6, be quiet, that the man may be quiet. Quiet meaning peaceful, not being oppressed, perhaps we can put it that way, versus may rest. Okay, I think it's saying similar things. Take pleasure in his life versus shall accomplish. So one is talking about experiencing joy and pleasure, not only suffering, versus till he shall accomplish, which seems more related to work and legacy, as opposed to simply hedonism or taking pleasure and joy in this life, this mundane existence. Verse 9 is a very interesting, actually possibly very important verse, potentially, if this is true. I could be wrong, but it says here, if we read this, talking about the branch, I think the parallel is more, let's just call it out. It's a messianic prophecy. I don't want to keep you in suspense too long. You can read my notes anyhow. Possible messianic prophecy or reference because it refers to a stem that dies in the rock. But only in its death, the result is it will blossom from the scent of water. After dying, notice that it dies first. The root of this tree, the root of the tree grows old, and then it ends up dying in the rock. Notice the rock, and then it blossoms from the scent of water. It will produce a crop as a result, which seems to be, you can associate that with the statement of Yeshua HaMashiach, talking about if a seed falls to the earth and it dies, only when it dies does it produce, a crop, essentially. It produces more seed. Verse 10, utterly gone versus wasteth away. When a mortal has fallen, he is no more, versus man gives up the ghost. Where is he? Okay, pretty straightforward. I'm going to have to explain that. Verse 12 to 13 seems to be referring to the resurrection. Verse 14, having accomplished the days of his life. I will wait till I exist again, ? Should a man, after he dies, should he live again having accomplished the days of his life? And he's asking a question, two questions. Will I wait till I exist again? That's how it's expressed in the Septuagint. In the Masoretic, it reads thusly, if a man die, shall he live again? Saying the same thing. All the days of my appointed time will I wait. So he's saying not so much a question, but a statement. All the days of my appointed time. So the difference here is that the Septuagint is talking about after I have lived, so he's died already, or talking about what will happen after his death, versus I will wait as long as I need to. And then we see a significant difference in the expression till I exist again, so resurrection, versus till my change come, which could be anything really. It could be reincarnation. I know that's not what it's referring to, but potentially people can read into it whatever they want. What is change? Is it going from flesh to spirit? Is it going from flesh to a different flesh? it's not really specific, but till I exist again is clearly resurrection. It's not open to interpretation that he's going to be reincarnated. I mean, it can be if you want to stretch it that way, but the references to, or I should say this, the line of thinking is, if a man should die, should he, that same man, live again? Not saying he's going to change into something else, although that can be scriptural as well when we align it with, I believe it's Thessalonians, where it talks about this corruptible shall put on incorruption. This flesh shall put on spirit, basically. Okay, that's verse 14. Verse 15, a significant difference again. Hearken. So, then shall you, Job referring to Elohim, then shall you call, and I will hearken to thee. I will listen to you. Versus, you shall call, and I will answer you. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm just going to speak back to you. So we can see this common theme of Job having an attitude and basically, how can I describe it? Just a very defiant attitude, let's put it that way, in the Masoretic. On the other hand, we have a different Job in the Septuagint who is humble, a humble servant who knows his place. He isn't defying God's authority, and he's respecting it, his place, and he knows who he is. He doesn't have this false idea that, he can talk to God that way. He can talk to Elohim like he's just anyone. Okay, verse 15 again, potentially a big difference. It says, but do not thou reject the work of thine hands. So don't reject me, the work of thine hands. Versus, thou wilt have a desire to the work of thine hands. That can be taken so many ways. It's a request in the Septuagint. Please don't reject me. Versus, you will have a desire. So this is a more of a statement. What does it mean? I'm not sure. You'll have a desire to the work of his hands. So he's going to have perhaps favor, pine after. There's different ways to take it, but moving on, request. Oh, that's what I just said. Verse 16, devices versus steps. So devices are actions versus steps. Verse 17, an omission of thou. Thou hast sealed up my transgressions. So it's not simply that Job's sins or transgressions are sealed up in a bag. It's actually Elohim who is the one sealing them up. Marked if I have been guilty of my transgression unawares versus, and thou sewest up mine iniquity. So the difference is Elohim is the one marking these actions, these transgressions, and coming up with the verdict. He's the judge. He decides whether Job is going to be marked guilty or innocent. Versus in the Masoretic, thou sewest up mine iniquity. So he's patching it up, perhaps even fixing them or mending them. Verse 19, waters falling headlong overflow a heap of the earth, versus thou washest away the things which grow out of the dust of the earth. In either translation, these are cryptic sayings. However, water could represent Elohim, and the stones could be representative of mankind, the stones and the earth. The footnote for this verse, for the word hope, reads as patience or endurance. You destroy the patience or endurance of man. But hope is a good translation. Verse 20, thou drivest him to an end, and he is gone. Versus, thou prevailest forever against him, and he passeth. So Elohim is the one bringing man to his end. He's the author, the finisher of our stories, respectively. Versus, you always win against him. You just always win. It's a battle. I should write that down, actually. A battle between Elohim and man, which life shouldn't be that way. It's more of a collaboration, ideally, not not a tug of war, not like a rivalry. The enemy, who is our actual rival, who we should war against, is Satan the devil. Thou settest thy face against him, and sendest him away, versus thou changest his countenance and sendest him away. So Elohim's face is set in opposition to man. So I just said he's not our enemy, but Job just says here, he just made the statement that you set your face against him. So his perception of Elohim, and I can't say he's wrong because this is what he's going through, it's antagonistic. Whereas he doesn't have the benefit of what we do, knowing what is happening behind the scenes, that it is Satan doing this. But he's been given permission by Elohim to do this for a purpose. Versus Elohim changes man's face. Okay, he's changing his face. What does that mean? I'll leave that for you to decide. Verse 21, and though his children be multiplied, versus his sons come to honor. And if they be few, he is not aware. Okay, that's cryptic. When I'm just thinking about that, what does that even mean? His children are being born, he's got many, but if they are few, he's not aware. Does that mean they die? Are they dying off, or is that because he's blind? I don't know. Versus they are brought low, but he perceives it not of them. Okay, so they came to honor, but then they are abased, they're demoted, and he perceives it not about them. Okay, so that's all for this chapter. Thank you very much for your time. Until next time, we'll look at Job chapter 15. Until then, I bid you all Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, Irini Mazisu, Pax Vobiscum, peace be unto you, and Maranatha.